Last time on Rolling with Remix, Fallen Empires. After much trepidation about whether or not taking hospitality with the Fae would be safe, our hero settled down at the House of Peace, though Quintessa said she didn't trust it, given that the inscription seemed to implicate Lady Fomar, a name she said out loud, which caused silence to ripple through the Feywild, and surely nothing good to happen. Eventually, after helping the Eladrin clean up their house, the Sandman arrived at the House of Peace, seeking respite, and finding a bunch of heavily armed adventurers who obviously intimidated him. However, they could not lean on that intimidation in the middle of a House of Peace, lest dire consequences happen. Instead, they made a deal. The sight of one of their eyes in exchange for passage to the Skeleton King's Castle of Bone. Quickly, however, they managed to trick him into accepting the Eye of a Needle instead. Though he was most dishappy, he was bound to the agreement, and sent them on their way into the Dark Castle. Inside, they found 3 monstrous hags conducting a ritual, and though there was more trepidation about whether or not to engage them, swiftly the party realized they must be the architects that the story weaver referred to in his tale, and quickly made conversation with them, even though the hags had 0 sense of personal space and were quite intimidating. When the hags asked what exactly the heroes wanted, they laughed at the idea that they would want a way out so quickly after getting in, and laughed further still at the plan to rescue Ezgal, as without a body, there would be no way to truly resurrect him. However, Kit quickly deduced that making a body would be trivial for hags with power over nature, flesh, and death itself. In exchange, they wanted the cauldron of the Skeleton King, which they said could be best acquired by using a skeleton key to release it from the pedestal it was locked onto. The key itself could be found downstairs, in an ossuary maze made entirely of bone. Our heroes descended into the darkness, realizing any light they bring would surely bring the wrath of its skeleton guards down on them. Luckily, however, Leaf on the Wind could see in the dark, and had sure aim with his bow, enough to disable any of the sentries inside, and quickly and stealthily get them through the maze without having an alert sounded. The key was quickly acquired, as well as a folding boat, which Mace decided to hold on to, having a plan that was sure to result in shenanigans. And as our heroes climbed the stairs back up, they reached a landing and were stopped by a gigantic royal guard Fae, who demanded their business. How will they deal with this next obstacle? Will the hags be as good as their word? And how many of them will die because this is probably the last time you see Side B? Find out on tonight's episode of Rolling with Remix, Fallen Empires.